I don't know if you remember the back then, but I think green white tokens or green white mid range like won Eldritch Moon Pro Tour. And I was just on that deck from day one. It's like Gideon Alive Zendikar, Nissa Voices Zendikar. Loved making big board states. Big white board states, pumping them all up, and then just hitting my opponent with all my
Wow, so,
creatures.
so that was you who won the Pro Tour.
No, I wish. I wish.
Seven.
7 million.
Seven.
7
Seven.
7. 7.
7 Point Highlander. Hello, and welcome to 7 Point Cast. My name is Liam, and I'm joined by my co-host Mouse.
Hey everyone, glad to be here.
Today we're joined by Jack C from Wollongong. Jack, how you going?
Hey, I'm doing well, thanks, Liam. How you doing?
Jack, I've seen you walk around with your deck box, and it's a lot thicker than others because it's got 50,000 different types of tokens in it. How did you get into becoming the most world-renowned token player? And by world-renowned, I mean 7 Point Highlander in Sydney, eastern seaboard of Australia.
Well, I've been playing token decks since like Battle for Zendikar, Eldritch Moon, back then, and I don't know if you remember the back then, but I think green white tokens or green white mid range like won Eldritch Moon Pro Tour. And I was just on that deck from day one. It's like Gideon Alive Zendikar, Nissa Voices Zendikar. Loved making big board states. Big white board states, pumping them all up, and then just hitting my opponent with all my
Wow,
creatures.
so that was you who won the Pro Tour.
No, I wish. But yeah, it was great to watch, and I was like, hey, I play that deck. And Gideon Alive Zendikar is my favorite card of all time, so I'll play him wherever I can.
But it's true as well that no matter the format, no matter the time, regardless of its competitiveness, you can be relied upon to be rocking up the tokens.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll play any format, wherever I can. And yes, I do have a huge box of tokens that I generally carry around with me.
What do you reckon is like the most bottom of the barrel desperate token card that you've been compelled to play just due to the format not accommodating you at any given time?
Oh man, like I'll always play like Resolute Reinforcements, like 2 mana, white, like 1 and a white ETB, 1/1 ETB, make another 1/1. I played that its whole time in standard, and I'll do it again.
And is it a point of pride for you? Do you always have like the accurate token of the thing that you're creating, or do you do the
mate,
space board?
And if it's a foil card, it's got to have the foil token.
It's got to match.
That's what Moto would do.
Okay, now I've got a question on the genuineness. So, for example, Ocelot Pride, well-known token card,
Yes.
Is it just me, or did
or is it to have the second token of the thing?
Sorry, you cut out for a second there, Mouse.
Is the more genuine decision to have, there's that token which is just called copy?
Yep.
Yeah, so what's correct? Is it correct to just have the second version of the original token, or to have a copy for each of the tokens?
Okay, so I will just make more of that same token.
Yeah.
Because generally, I do have copy tokens, but they're for when I have Spring Heart Nantuko on my Ocelot Pride, and I make extra Ocelot Prides.
That's a pretty wild sequence of events, I can imagine.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Right. Well, why don't we just jump into it? Why play tokens in 7 Point Highlander? What are the draws? What are the payoffs?
That's a beautiful slide right there.
Do you like how lopsided it is? And it's not even... It don't, like the 4 cards on the right. I was trying to do that thing where one card's on top of one and below another, like when you're doing a cardboard box together, but that was as good as I could get it.
No, that's pretty great. Well, they all belong together.
I would say the only thing not beautiful about this slide, though, Liam, is that what is that Crater Hoof Behemoth art? I don't think I've ever seen it. It is not the dinosaur coming out of the cliff.
As I was saying earlier, this is Moxfield it's got like this really deep think AI algorithm that's generating the worst version of a card, like art and border, every single time I try to download a card for this podcast. So that's what we got.
Well, at least he had the good graces to cover up that god-awful skull clamp with the guy's cradle.
Yeah, thank you. What's that skull clamp from? Like a secret lair or something?
I've hidden it up. We don't need to know.
No, we don't need to know. Great. Why play tokens in 7 Point? Well, basically, like when Mouse first asked me to come join, I said, "Well, yeah, is there a token deck?" And he said, "No. How about you build it, make it a thing?" And I just got a Gaia's Cradle. I assumed, okay, cool. Well, Gaia's Cradle will be a point, and then I'll figure out the rest of my points from there. And it wasn't even pointed. So Gaia's Cradle is a huge draw to playing tokens. And as well, there you can see right next to it the skull clamp. Like that's just so much value, and definitely deserves the point.
Definitely one
yeah.
of the cool features, like incidentally, of Gaia's Cradle and Skull Clamp is that because the Gaia's Cradle adds like a single green for each creature you control, and the Skull Clamp costs 1, it kind of naturally marries up. It's like you tap the Gaia's Cradle and you have exactly as much mana you need to Skull Clamp each of your dudes until you find something to do.
Yeah, exactly. My very first iteration of this deck played Earthcraft, and it was just everything I ever wanted to do was just make a token, tap it straight away with the Earthcraft, and eat it with the Skull Clamp, and just go through my whole deck.
I mean, I remember another very early iteration had the like the deranged hermits as like the Gaia's Cradle both pay off and enabler.
Yeah, it just pays for itself.
Yeah, but sadly not good with Skull Clamp.
No, no, not as good. Oh, you can just kill the hermit. Yeah, so like I started off with green white. That's my favorite color combination. But fairly quickly, yeah, I decided I needed Orcish Bowmasters. Was just so good, and there's a type of card that I like to call the 2 mana make 2 dudes, and I'm going to say this a lot tonight. And Orcish Bowmasters is one of the best, just 2 mana make 2 dudes. And then of course, Fourth Eolingus came out in the same set, and that
Famously,
card was
4 mana make 2 dudes.
Yeah.
4 mana make 2 dudes, but also very good with Gaia's Cradle. You just can make so much mana. And then above that, you can see a Ajani. So Ajani Ocelot Pride in MH3. That just like pushed me even more into red. Wanting to have that red permanent for Ajani. Yeah, and Wizards gave me a real present that day when they printed Ocelot Pride. It's just the quintessential like token deck. White's Ragavan.
I will say as well, I mean, certainly one of the decks, like on paper, best showings, was at top 8 to create like the second Cambrawl. And I did see on coverage the Gaia's Cradle to create just like simply the most, huge Fourth Eolingus, which I think I've ever seen. And it like this deck does have that thing where it can go over the top. And so in many ways, like even though people wouldn't think of tokens this way, sometimes it kind of feels almost like one of those mid-range combo hybrid decks where you've got the cards which no one would look bat an eyelid as playing, like Ocelot Pride, Orcish Bowmasters, Ajani. These are just solid mid-range cards, but this deck can suddenly be like, and now I play Gaia's Cradle and fourth you for 7, or Natural Order for something huge, and so it has that kind of respect my mid-range game plan, but also I can do something very unfair.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you can be playing some pretty underrated cards early on, and then you just suddenly have a Gaia's Cradle, and now all these natural order targets are actually castable. You just jump straight to 7 or 8 mana.
Tell us about the natural order. What are the best targets?
Okay, so these are my favorite 3 targets. Crater Hoof, obviously, you're going to play that in any deck that you've got creatures, and then Atraxa. Everyone loves Atraxa. Everyone knows what it does. It's amazing card advantage. I also love to play Torsten. Now, I play it 1 because it's castable as well. Just green-white. The bulk of the deck that I play is green-white. But also, I do just love it, especially against decks like Grixis, where you will draw, 5 or so cards. Probably a similar amount of cards to Atraxa. But also, if they kill it, you just have so many dudes.
And
so
is that what really attracts you to Torsten? It's 7 mana makes 7 dudes.
It's not so much, but that is a great upside at the end of the day. If I can make more dudes, I'm going to do it.
You know,
Is there any room? Is there any room in your heart for the? I mean, this is really turning back the clock on the format. But I remember once upon a time, the like go-to strategy to beat those kind of tempo decks was Hornet Queen, because it was also cast like an eminently castable card off Guy's Cradle, just costing green, and made the
Mm.
four death touches. It's like having four baleful strixes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think the rest of the deck is good enough that if you just get an Atraxa instead,
Mm.
you're able to just deal with whatever they're doing. Um, but yeah, Hornet Queen is a great throwback. Well, we used to play a card. What's it called? I call it Mini Hoof colloquially.
Oh
Um,
yeah, it's like the 6 mana one. It ETBs, it gives everything +3/+3 and trample.
yeah,
It's like something giant. Is it like or
yeah. Uh,
but it's a card which no one should really consider because it's like notoriously hard to find from memory,
yes, yes. It did just get a printing in Mystery Booster 2, but
right?
also those boxes are hard to find anyway. But yeah, it was only in like a game day product, and took me a couple of months to get my hand on one. But we're not playing the card anymore. But yeah, back in the day when it was just play a bunch of dudes and then slam a hoof or a mini hoof. Yeah, that was one of my favorite cards.
And like obviously, you've taken into the account this idea of like, look, everyone knows about natural order targets. It's bad when they get stuck in your hand. And you said like these are castable. But how, like, are there times where we're having like three targets makes hands like, not workable? Like, how often
Yeah,
is the risk state?
yeah, like that did happen like a fair bit. I've tried to counteract that by playing Chrome Mox.
Hmm.
And we're also playing like pitch spells where we can pitch our Torsion or our Traxa to a Solitude or to like Force of Virtue, the White Force,
Hmm.
um, which gives all your creatures +1/+1. So that's generally what I'm going to do. If they're in my opening hand, but I've got a pitch card, then I don't feel quite so bad.
Yep.
But yes, I did have some people kind of look at me questioningly when I had three natural order targets in the deck. Um, but I stand by it, and I think it was worth the testing, and I think that I would stick with this.
Cool. Yeah, so like tokens in general, you get to play a bunch of really cool cards which are good anyway, which make tokens, and you've got this real like over the top potential.
Yeah.
All right, anything else before we should go to the next slide?
Just one more thing of note. I think a big upside to playing tokens is that at the moment, like Grixis and other decks with really efficient removal are
Hmm.
like very prevalent in the format. And if all your cards are just making two dudes and you're just instantly creating 2 for 1s with all the efficient removal that's out there, so that's just an innate upside to playing the token archetype.
Yeah, and I guess it's one of the other kind of realities of 7 Point is that there just aren't that many wrath effects. People might play like a massacre or a toxic deluge off the board, or the occasional deck will supreme verdict in the main, but in terms of like formats with wrath effects, like this one is at an all-time low.
Yeah, yeah, and when we look at the deck list later, we can talk about some of the sideboard tech we have for that.
I
Well,
just remembered as well that the card which we were talking about is Earthshaker Giant, the 6 mana 6/6 which overruns.
Yeah, thank you.
before we go to the next slide, I just want to say I have so much regret. I wish when we were discussing how grossly this slide is laid out, and for those on Spotify, you've done yourself a favor by not seeing this slide. I wish I'd said this is what a token player's board looks like, where all the cards are all over the shop and you can't see left from right. Anyway, I missed out on that opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Four color tokens.
Yes.
Okay, this is a massive slide. I guess look, why don't we start with what are the kind of, traditionally good 7 Point cards which people might not have thought of as token cards?
We're going to see Voice of Victory there as a fairly new one that I believe a lot of the Legends players or just the white and aggressive decks are
Hmm.
playing. Um, that is an amazing tokens card. Uh, you also have your Slimefoot and Squee, which
Hmm.
you know Jund decks will use for their value, and all I see is make a 1/1 every time he attacks.
Hmm.
Um, Quintessential tokens cards. that other
I mean,
people just
obviously, Grist is sticking out. Like this is a good card, but like a
Mm.
lot better in this kind of archetype than usual, right? Because you've just got a lot more spare material to throw around.
Yes, yeah. It's generally always just going to come down M-2, sucking something that you don't particularly care about to kill their best thing. And it is green sunzable. It's up there in the sorceries with that awful red 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 banner at the top there. I believe is Green Sun Zenith.
Right.
Comboxfield
Okay.
strikes again.
Yeah, I actually just did a chaos draft, and there was rare redraft at the end, and I won it, and I won that Green Sun Zenith. I'm looking at it right now. That's how I recognized it.
And like one other like set of cards, which is pretty typical of 7 Point Highlander, but I can't imagine being mandatory in tokens, but maybe you can give some insights. Is the Mana Dorks, the Birds of Paradise, Halfling,
Mm.
two Hierarchs? Why do these need to be there?
Yeah, so like I think a big reason to be in green is for your guys cradling your natural order. So we're playing four, three dorks now, or four dorks now, and then we used to be on, we used to be on a fifth.
I think you just cut out for a second there,
Please
Jack.
turn three if you find a Chrome box. But it also does allow your cradle just to do silly things a lot earlier in the game if it's in your hand. We are also a four color deck, um, even I guess splashing blue for the Atraxa, but that is it's asking a lot of your mana base. So having some extra dorks is really handy. Even handier now with misstep being pointed. I think a few more of my one drops are going to resolve.
And I imagine as well, like, most four color decks have a kind of like a natural vulnerability to Blood Moon. But having like mana on creatures is also kind of like a natural hedge against that.
Yeah, and that is huge. You may notice that we're playing a lot of two drops as well. There's actually not as many three drops. Usually you'd think, oh, turn one bird, and then you play a three drop in turn two. But there are a lot of times, like we are playing a lot of one drops as well. So there is a lot of time where we will just go play a dork on one, then we'll play a two drop and a one drop. We can start double spelling.
And now let's have a chat about some of the cards which are a little bit more token-esque because there's, in both senses of the word, because there's like some cards here which I guess you would just never see outside of a tokens deck.
Well, the first one comes to mind is humility.
Yeah.
As it's sticking out right there. And this card was suggested to me, I believe, by you, and a
I'm a
few
big
others. I had it way back in the day and sort of put it to the side, but it's really been doing some work lately, and it completely warps the game around it.
So for those who don't know, humility is 2 white for an enchantment, and it's just every creature loses all abilities and is a 1/1.
Yes. We do get a lot of judge questions around that as well. But basically, yeah, I'll slam my humility, and now all of my cards that just make multiple dudes, like on the stack, like Frontline Rush, Verdant Command, that's just instantly a better card now. And then we can often run away with the game with Skull Clamp or Grist and just getting card advantage that way.
I definitely
Um,
have spoken to some people who have, said things like, "Oh, and there's this game where Jack just had no business winning, and he untaps and just plays humility." And you
yeah,
can conceive of so many cards in the format. Like some of the big bads, right? The Barragoyfs, the Tamios, the Ragavans, the Omnaths, the Sheoldreds, like
yeah,
all of
all
these
the
cards
words.
are very bad under humility. Like there are a couple of niche ones, like your Murktide Regents, can come down with the counters. If you've happened to had a creature explore, then that's
Yeah,
good too.
or Frog. Sometimes they'll pitch their hand to a frog.
Mm,
But it still makes them so much less of a threat than what they would have been.
yeah. And there
Um,
are also as well, I find sometimes, right, like there are some decks like Thassa's Oracle where if the kill, or Flash, where if the kill con is attached to a creature, it
hmm,
also just blanks that preemptively.
yeah, yeah. It really just does so much for the game in my favor. Um,
Actually,
some
before we
other,
move off humility, though, like, because
yeah.
obviously it's blanking some of your creatures. What are the ways which you're breaking symmetry other than just playing, like your 2 mana make 2 dudes cards?
So well, there's the Grist and the Skull Clan, the two really that come to mind. Um, and I believe that's most of what I'm particularly
Well,
looking for.
I imagine Goblin Bombardment's probably a bit of a any dude can kill any of your dudes. It's probably also pretty good with humility on the field.
Yeah. That is pretty excellent. There have been a couple of times, yeah, like I've played Humility and I am behind on board. And I have lost some games with Humility. Um, but yeah, primarily resolving it and my opponent not being able to deal with it is often just GG. Um, we can play this game, for a while longer. But eventually the deck is going to find the value that it needs.
I guess another similar card to humility in the kind of 4 mana white enchantments is in the sideboard. I can see like worship. Um,
Mhm.
and-
Yeah, you're back.
oh, yeah, go for yeah. So how does worship interact with this strategy?
So worship plays really nicely with just having a bunch of dudes. If they're an aggressive deck, I'm bringing in worship.
Mhm.
And basically, yeah, it says as long as I have a creature in play, if damage will reduce my life, um, yeah, to less than one, it reduces it to one. So we're always going to have some amount of creatures because the majority of the deck makes creatures. And if they're an aggressive deck, they're probably not playing wraths. Um, Minus maybe like a red deck playing Fury.
Mhm.
But it can be quite comfortable just sitting behind a worship. The main weakness to worship is the initiative, uh, because it does the Undercity does make you lose 5 life, which worship doesn't stop.
Mm.
Um, but other than that, yeah, it is just a godsend sometimes. If I've just got 3 creatures in play and they're beating down, yeah, worship will save my bacon.
How does this deck play against the initiative? Like I can imagine like on paper you've got thoughts like, oh, I've got more dudes than them. Maybe I can block effectively. Like how does it play out in practice?
Um, Often, yeah, I found that it does actually quite play out like that. Often, I want that one removal spell
Mhm.
to get rid of whatever big blocker they've left behind. But as soon as I'm able to have, say, 2 or 3 tokens in play, and then have a removal spell for their blocker, get in with a token, I'm happy to chump block for as long as it takes and take this card advantage all the way to the bank. Um, yeah, we do often go just quite a lot wider than our opponents. I've also had many opponents show me their hand at the end of a game, and they have like 1 or 2 initiative creatures in hand, and they just didn't want to play it
Okay.
because they were scared of me taking the initiative. Um, so yeah, we do have a fairly good matchup there, just by the innately making 2 mana make 2 dudes, getting in quite wide and kind of being happy to, if we have enough dudes, like I will sacrifice a few just to get in for that initiative if I can leave some back to block.
Yep. Cool. What's the next like yeah, dedicated tokens card we can see here?
Um, like we've already spoken about Ocelot Pride.
Yeah.
Voice of Resurgence and Voice of Victory are both excellent cards.
Hmm.
Just in this kind of meta with a lot of Grixis around and some instant speed, it does kind of make everyone play at my speed.
Yeah.
I'm playing a lot at sorcery speed. Voice of Resurgence has been a lot better than I thought it would be, and it's just been such an awesome card.
And I
Um,
imagine like for Voice of Resurgence normally, like in just a green white deck playing it, the problem is when the guy it makes when it dies, the elemental is often not that big. Like if it's your only dude or one of 2 or 3, it's like a 2 or 3, it's not that threatening. But I imagine that in this deck, you've got the ability to just in one turn make it quite formidable, more like a construct.
yes, yeah. I've had guys, yeah, just my opponent will kill it, thinking it's kind of okay. I go end step, make 2 dudes. All right, in my turn, I'm going to make 2 more dudes, and now he's suddenly at 5/5 or 6/6.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be quite a threat. Um, we've recently brought in bombardiers
Hmm.
because we went a bit more into blue with the depointing a little of Oko. And that was good, but I did make the deck just that little bit more slow. Going into blue, we do still want to be pressuring our opponent. So Broadside Bombardiers really helps with that, and we can just throw silly tokens as needed to kill some, quite decent 1 or 2 toughness creatures.
Yeah,
And I imagine it means that Torsten can actually give you the mode you really after the 7-1. 7-1.
Yes.
it is funny though because Broadside Bombardiers doesn't strike me as a card like. I mean, it's good in any deck that can play it, sure, but and you'll always have something to sacrifice, but it's only dealing 2 damage for the sacrifice. It's not like you're throwing like a like a 4-mana creature or something you've reanimated or an enchantment that's no longer relevant anymore. Are there any? Is that really the best point that the points list can offer?
It's where I'm at the moment, and I do really like it for 2 reasons that can be quite niche, but do come up. Is Ajani into Broadside Bombardiers, and you just sack the Ajani cat and flip the Ajani, and now you also have a red permanent in Bombardiers that's gonna be bolting some things. And then also just the maybe natural order, or maybe you've ramped into like an Atraxa or a Torsten, and then you've just thrown it at your opponent for a lot of damage. Also, you can see Hogak there in amongst all the 7 drops, and more often than not, you are filling the graveyard. You've got all these fetch lands. You've got some small spells that are getting in the bin. So it isn't really out of the realm of possibility to have a Hogak in play by turn 4, for only 2 or 3 mana, and throwing that at your opponent for 9 damage is usually going to be pretty good.
I can imagine as well, Hogak's kind of like a good dovetail here as another payoff. That this might be the only kind of deck which does like an honest Hogak, like it's not just Mass Dredge and Icarids or whatever. Like this, you're actually convoking this guy out quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like we don't have that many like black creatures, but like Orcish Bowmasters will do it, and any of your green will do it just fine.
And how game winning is Hogak? Because at the end of the day, he's just like a pile of stats, right? Like it's an 8/8 trample.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like I find in formats like 7 Point where they're really really high powered, people kind of just forget the power of a big stat line.
Yeah,
I know Baragoy's probably doing a pretty good job of putting big stat lines back on the map. But how effective have you found? Like just getting out of quick Hogak.
The trample on Hogak is absolutely backbreaking, and you are okay just like trading it off with a Baragoy for some other big statted things, or if your opponent kills it, often you're in a good position to just cast it again. And I had one more thing I was going to say about it, but can't recall now.
I imagine casting it again from the graveyard has got to be like just a kind of inevitability.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a really good point, and I've completely lost it. But no, that's right. Yeah. Hogak's always going to be beating down.
Hogak's the one where you can't spend money. You have to do the convoke and the delve, right?
Yeah.
How often are you delving it versus like tapping seven dudes? Because a better way of asking this question is, if you've got 7 dudes on the field, do you feel like the game is swinging in your favor, or is that just kind of BAU for the deck and it's all up for grabs still?
Yeah, I would say we usually don't have 7 dudes on the board. It's usually we might be delving, say like 3 or 4, and then you're tapping 2 or 3 dudes to get him on the field. It's a bit of a balancing act because we don't really have heaps of mill. Besides, like our surveil land, our fetches, and our grist. Just shoveling cards into play.
So the next like kind of tokens-esque card I can see is Enduring Innocence. So this one was a bit of a powerhouse in Standard, I believe, for a time. But it's 1 white for a 2/1 lifelink, and it's one of those ones where when it dies, it comes back as an enchantment. And it's whenever a creature of power 2 or less enters, you draw a card. And similar to that is Caretaker's Talent. Which I can't remember for the life of me what it does, but it's the same thing, right? Like it's like when a token enters, you draw a card or something like that.
Yeah. So Enduring Innocence it cares about power 2 or less, and Caretaker's Talent cares about it being a token.
But no star for the storyteller. What's going on here?
No, no, yeah, it was in the deck for the longest time. This in the sideboard here, Yuna's sending staff is Staff of Storyteller.
Okay.
But yeah, it has been relegated to the sideboard at the moment for the slower matchups. I found that Caretaker's Talent kind of does everything that I want it to do. So it has for 1 mana, you can copy a token you control, which sometimes can be like a great token you've made, Voice of Resurgence or something. And then its final ability, which is something that this deck started with but has had to remove a lot of, is an Anthem. So Caretaker's Talent gives all your creature tokens +2/+2, which sort of a little mini hoof effect. Can catch a lot of opponents off guard if you're really building up that board state. Is that all the abilities on Caretaker's Talent? Or am I missing one?
Yeah, no, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
want
it's
to
just
tell us a little bit about what you're saying then, how the deck really, kind of wants but can't run an anthem? Because there are like so many, great anthems, right? Like your intangible virtues and stuff like that. What
Yeah.
what stops them from being ultimately playable in a deck like this?
It was just more of the Grixis and the counterspell decks, like the blue decks, because they could be very efficient still in their removal or their wraths or what they're choosing to let resolve, and often an anthem was just for them okay to resolve, and then they just deal with what's on the board. So a lot of the time, I would just have this anthem, but no board, or really want just some extra threat. And in a mid-rangey matchup, it could definitely be better. But I've just found that just giving them a hoof, it goes way over the top. And Caretaker's Talent is a nice middle ground.
Yeah, fair enough. So it sounds like you're not really nickeling and diming these games away with like +1 on the stat line. It really is like the kind of go big or go home. Like you're winning with like the big payoff, not the little one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do have this Force of Virtue in the sideboard, which I really, really love. And that is, to me, one of the best anthems because it's kind of a surprise anthem as well. Your opponent could be totally happy with taking some small amount of damage or attacking in, and then you just surprise. My board, my 7/1/1s are actually 7/2/2s.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can imagine as well it plays quite well into like your massacres, your furies and stuff like that as well.
Yes, it plays beautifully into Fury. Yeah. So the Fury especially is one of the weaknesses of this deck. I'm not sure how often it's being played in the main deck of like Grixis and some of those red decks. But yeah, that is why we're playing. You can see Wandering Rescuer here in the creatures column under the 5-drop slot. So Wandering Rescuer is a 5-mana 3/4 double strike with Convoke. Oh, here it is. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I had it later in the slideshow how you're going to deal with these kind of like 1/1 killers, but we can skip to it now. It makes more sense.
Yeah. That would be great. So if you go back a slide, just to have a look at those hoses. So yeah, Fury, Ren and Six, Orcish Bowmasters, all very good against me. And then Token seems to have quite a good game one, I've found, against a lot of these decks, either because their removal is just not built for the matchup, or we're getting in like quick enough just to end the game before they kind of realize what's happening. But they are often able to bring in their Furies, their Massacres, Toxic Deluge, and things like that. So if we move on to the next slide, it kind of shows what I am proposing. I believe is the answers to some of these cards. Wandering Rescuer here, 5-mana, 3/4 double strike does come in handy. Flash Convoke, and it's not very uncommon to like flash out Wandering Rescuer for 0 to 1 mana in this deck, and then it just gives all your tap creatures hexproof, just blanking whatever removal that they've played, especially on Fury. Do you guys have any thoughts on these cards?
So,
My immediate question, right, is that obviously you are an aggressive deck, like you are winning with combat damage. Are you ever stuck in positions where, just because like the guys are already tapped because they're attacking? Like, how does how do you strike the balance between that not obviously telegraphing that you've got some convoke thing, or is it just the case that no one's ever going to see the Wandering Rescuer coming type?
I think a lot of people don't know the card exists,
Yeah.
which does help a lot there. Um, yeah, like you're right. I'm thinking more of like a mid-rangey matchup where this would come up and where attacking with my 1/1s isn't really going to be great. Um, so it doesn't look as weird just to keep some of them back. And Wandering Rescuer keeping alive some very key cards in the deck is just awesome.
Yeah, okay. So it's really to do with like the texture of the matchup. Like if you're against like combo or something, you're taking these things out because you're just killing them as fast as possible. But
Mhm.
but like I guess what I'm getting is that you're saying that there are like just genuine board stalls, which
Yeah,
I guess kind of tokens naturally creates, and these cards play very well into those situations when they try to break the door open. It's like you can slam it back shut again.
yeah, exactly. And like Force of Virtue helps again with that. Especially like if I want to start getting aggressive. Um, the instant speed anthem is not on people's minds, and clever concealment has been better than I thought it would be. There's been multiple times where opponents have like toxic deluged or done an actual hard wrath,
Mm.
and clever concealment can just be cast for 0 mana. Um, a lot of the time in those circumstances. Um, yeah, I'm happy with all of these. I don't know if they're perfect for perfect answers to the format, but they're definitely worth testing.
Yeah, cool. Back on the list for a bit, there's only a couple more cards which I think might be worth having a think about. One is what is Hildebrand Mandeville?
Yeah, yes. So this is a new card from a commander set, and he does a really good lingering souls um impression.
Mm.
Um,
Well, it must be better than pretty good because you're running him and not Lingering Soul. So
I am. So he's a 2 mana 2/2, and he gives all your creature tokens +1/+1. So he himself is an anthem for your creature tokens.
Mhm.
But he does have an adventure side, which is 2 and a black instant, make a 2/2 zombie. Um, so you could instant speed,
hold
make a
on, hold on. That's 2 mana for a 2/2, not 2 mana for two dudes.
no,
you,
it's
you
it's
are
worse. It's 3 mana for a 2/2.
you are
Oh
right.
my!
It's 3 mana, 3 mana for 1/2/2. However, when he dies, you can cast him from your graveyard as an adventure until the end of the next turn,
Right.
which will then allow you to then cast him again from the adventure back into play. So it does give you a little bit of resilience to all this like removal and like some of the grindy games. Um, yeah. What do you guys think about that card?
I mean, look, I think the first thing it kind of reminds me a lot of Mosswood Dread Knight, which is like what's that? It's like mini like half a sign in blood, um,
Mm,
but it's like a 3/2, and then if it dies, you can do the sign in blood and do it again.
yeah.
Yeah, the idea is it just kind of goes over and over and over. But I will say about this card, I do like that. The reward in a tokens deck is a lot better than just like a 3/2 death touch. Like the anthem is genuinely could add a lot of power to the board. So I
Yeah.
like it. It seems cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And like instead of it being an anthem just on its own, potentially against Grixis, for example, then they just killed a lot of my dudes. This itself is a threat. If I
Mm.
play this down, do they want to kill the anthem, which I can then make a zombie from and then cast again, or are they going to leave this anthem up and all of my Ocelot Pride tokens are just going to stay as 2/2s, which I'm sure is not what they want.
Yeah.
He was a great inclusion from Final Fantasy Commander deck.
Well, I imagine that like in Wizards marketing genius, they know what sells. It's like token stuff, counters stuff. And so it's it's
Hmm.
probably the case that I don't know if this has been your experience that a lot of the like newest printings for a deck like yours will just come from Commander.
Yes, yeah, that has been excellent. Um, going one more card I just want to talk about. Where where is he? Yeah, yeah. Is the Verdant Command. So Verdant Command is one of my favorite, like 2 mana make 2 dudes cards. It's 1 and a green, instant speed, but there's 4 modes, and I get to pick 2 of them. So I can gain 3 life, make 2 tapped squirrels, 2/1/1 tapped squirrels. I can exile a card from a player's graveyard, or I can counter a planeswalker activation ability. The choices there are just amazing, and a lot of the time, yeah, it's just going to be gain 3 life, make 2 dudes, instant speed. But to be able to stop like a reanimation or like carrying a planeswalker activation of some kind, is just beautiful, beautiful upside. And I hope the Wizards keeps printing cards like this where they just tack, make 2 dudes onto the card with some extra upside.
That's right. We need to take all of the because what's the current thing which I know Colin always complains about this is like, oh, they keep on like tacking on just destroy an artifact onto any random card. The message is sent clear to Wizards. Instead, make 2 dudes onto any random card, and the token players will be happy.
That would be amazing.
And have you had the sublime joy of countering a Planeswalker ultimate?
Yes, I have countered a Tameo ultimate.
Oh.
A flip Tameo.
That actually probably would come up in although because I guess like if they flipped the Tameo super early, they probably haven't got that many cards out of it, and so it's super plausible that these wouldn't have the counterspell.
Yeah. Flip Tameo does stonewall me pretty hard. Like they just tick up, and I'm sitting on this Verdant Command, going, well, there's no point me casting it because my 1/1s aren't going to deal any damage, and they don't want to tick down because then my 1/1s are going to kill it. So
you can counter the tick up of the Tameo and just kill the Tameo.
You're right, yeah. And if that comes up and I can guarantee that Tameo's going to die, then that's probably what I'm going to do. Which is, just extra upside again of Verdant Command.
I actually do think that this card might be one of Token's best threats again, or I guess best answers to Tameo, which is a pretty relevant part of the format. I've noticed that a few times. You've kind of said, this makes tokens like at instant speed, and now that I think about it, like lots of them do. That the Frontline Rush, the Hildebrand, the Verdant Command, there is a lot of instant speed in this deck. And the Bowmasters as well, obviously. How important is it to have like that, that element of the deck?
To be able to be played at instant speed? Yeah, like it's amazing. Like we don't have the best control matchup. So being able to just hold up some mana, potentially be able to do some crafty things is good to keep the pressure on. Back when the deck was first played, we were on Raise the Alarm, and we were on Resolute Reinforcement. So it's definitely had taken some strides since then.
Do you reckon there's any room to experiment with a card like Felia? Not that it makes a token itself, but it does kind of provide a lot of the other cards which make a token on enter the battlefield, like a chance to rebuy their effect.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we may want to play some higher upside cards for Felia to blink for us. But those do exist. We are on Solitude. We're not really looking at playing like a Ephemerate or anything like that yet, but there's room to explore that, I think.
Cool. One of the last questions I had like on this particular list is about the points. Because I noticed that like in the artifacts, you're playing like Expedition map. There are quite a few points in lands, and maybe not ones which you would, people might automatically think go in a token stack. So do you want to roll us through like what the rationale is behind the points list? I mean,
yeah. So I've got like my 3 lands that are the ones. So you've got your Caracas, I've got Urza's Saga, and Gaia's Cradle, and 2 of those obviously are pointed. We're playing Expedition map, and we are also playing White of the Reliquary to find these lands. And yeah, like Urza's Saga, amazing card, deserves to be pointed. Really changes the game because it's going to go find me my Skull Clamp, and then the whole game seems to just revolve around this Skull Clamp, constantly drawing me cards. And yeah, there was a version of the deck where we did play some more ways to find these lands, like crop rotation for one. Crop rotation I've gone back off of for now. just a little too scared to have it be counted, sacking the land when you cast it.
Well,
But
meant to misstep being pointed now. Crop rotation might be back on the menu.
oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Well, maybe crop rotation at one point is where I want to be playing it then before it may go up. That would be scary. But yeah, like a lot of games, I will a lot of time I will end a game with Caracas, Urza Saga, and Gaia's Cradle in play, and it's sort of I call it my land Tron, just to get my 3 elves in play and run away with the game through there.
Is there a particular reason for Caracas? Like, you're not really bouncing many legendaries of your own. Is it like is it just the case that like a deck like this is maybe I want to know like necessarily light on removal, and so if you've got a land which can fill that gap, that's just or is it just do you think just generically a really powerful white point?
I generally think it is a very powerful 1 point. Like, well, yeah, you're right. We're not really bouncing your Ajani every turn to get extra cats. Not really where you want to be. But there are some matchups that you will just play it, and it's giving you like heaps of percentage points to win that game, whether they've got a legendary or two in their hand or in play that they're really valuing. We were on a lot less removal previously. I think there's a little more now. We're on Solitude, Swords, Dismember. What am I missing? That might be it. We just
Swords and Dismember, but I Solitude is yeah.
So like then that to a lot of people listening is probably quite low number of of removal spells. So yeah, that does lend credence to your statement there. Yeah, it is just really handy to have to in place of some removal.
I mean, you've also got Orcish Bowmasters, Morlock, Goblin Bombardment. You know, you've got a lot of stuff.
Bombardiers as well, I suppose. Yeah.
Bombardiers, Ajani if it flips.
Yep.
You can hit people.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there is enough in the deck. Caracas has been in since day one, I believe, and it hasn't. If it left the deck, it didn't leave for long. I find it really safe to have in the deck, at least with at least 2 ways to search it up if it is gonna win me this game.
I suppose like one of the things as well, right, is generically true of Caracas is that like the difference between a pointed card, like a non-land card, versus the next best non-land card is often not like it can sometimes be not that big, because there are really a lot of powerful not pointed cards. But the difference between like Caracas and like a fetch land or Caracas or like Plains or whatever is like huge. Like that, like it's just so far apart. It's might even just be that the value of adding as a point by itself justifies it because of like what it's replacing.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Well, do we want to quickly have a look at where the brewing space is before we like get too close to the end of the episode? Because of course, like just because it's tokens doesn't mean it has to be 4 colors. We could be looking at noticeably blue is not not featured in any of these lists. But what would a blue tokens deck look like?
Yeah, well, that's sort of what we're looking at here with this Jeskai list. So this sort of came about because of some new cards being printed in the latest set, in like Cosmogran Zenith, and where's that enchantment? Aligned Heart, are both two cards that want you to be playing 2 spells a turn. Obviously, and Corey Steelcutter's in there as well. But that lends itself really well to playing blue and being able to create some card advantage. And with your Ponder, your Preordain, and your Consider, Brainstorm, all of that, just to be able to get those 2 spells a turn really like efficiently, just makes those cards really stand out.
And this list we're looking at, this is like very, very, very beta, right? Like it's like first draft. We've got the Corey Steelcutter now. What would the deck potentially look like? What are some of the early insights? Like what's working and what's not?
So originally this did have more Convoke synergy. So currently there's just Conclave Tribunal, Wandering Benny Brax, Zoologist, and I think that's it. Up until like even as like a few days ago, there was the 4 mana Convoke, draw 2 cards. But we're not always consistently going to have lots of tokens in play. It's often just making them just that little bit cheaper that makes them really good. So Convoke has fallen off a little bit. I would love for there to be an amazing Convoke deck one day. But yeah, we just haven't really landed on the right numbers yet for that.
And
Um,
what is Benny Brax, the zoologist? Whenever we go into like the Brewmeister's cards, there are always so many of these ones where it's like, what is this card from EDH? Why haven't I ever heard of it? Type thing.
yeah, he's a 4 mana. It's like a 2/2 or a 3/2. And he just says in your end step, draw a card if you've created a token this turn.
Hmm. So he's
Um,
kind of like the caretaker's talent, but like on a dude.
yes, yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, with this deck, I have omitted a little the 2 mana make two dudes card for 1 mana amazing spell
Yeah,
instead.
okay.
You got like
Heresy.
because yeah, just often you do want that, you do want that extra mana sometimes
Mm.
for your other spells. So just on turn one, playing that creature, um, and then having it there later on to convoke is good enough. And we are playing some like amazing spells here: Ocelot Bright, Rage, Esper Sentinel, Ragavan, Tameo, all awesome one drops that can add to your convoke or your creature count later on.
Cool. I mean, look, I'm really curious. I mean, Aligned Heart is another one of these. It's also a commander card, isn't it? I think.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's also one of these cards which I think I don't know if certainly people could be playing more of them because it's like a 3 mana enchantment which when you play a second spell you make a 1/1 monk counter, but it's like the way it's worded is you put a counter on the Aligned Heart, then you make a 1/1 monk with prowess for each counter on it. So it's like first it makes one, then it makes two, then it makes three. This to me is like in many ways like it's like a monastery mentor, but it's enchantment type, so that it's way harder to kill. Is
Yeah.
it like yeah? Is this card maybe something which other decks should be playing? Like these are I'm thinking to myself, I'm a control player. I like kill cons that are themselves hard to kill. Maybe I should
Yeah,
go with that card.
yeah, and I do think yeah, more control decks could be playing this card. Even slightly more aggressive decks if they wanted to have more staying power in a more grindy game. The fact that it is on either player's turn is just really cool. So we've got all these instants in the deck. So there can be times where you play two one drops on your turn, and then in their turn you play a brain. You still have a brainstorm and then a force, and then wow, you've just made so many dudes and gained so much value.
This is definitely this card definitely has like a love affair with baubles. Like use
Oh
the baubles on my turn to get the flurry thing, then use the cards they draw on their turn to get another flurry. It's yeah.
yeah, and a lot of the time, like you may not play your ball turn one or two. You'll wait till turn three and you play Cosmic Gun Zenith or Aligned Heart and then Bauble, just to get that trigger straight away.
And Cosmic Green Zenith because it's a new card as well. It's the 3 mana 2/4 which when you flurry you either make two dudes or put a 1/1 counter on everything. It kind of then fills that role you were talking about earlier about it's a card that both is the anthem incidentally, but is also just like another good a good card outside of being an anthem.
Yes, yeah, it is perfect for that, and then that's really what I look for in an anthem. That it's not just an anthem, but all of a sudden, if I have a big board state and I want an anthem, I can get an anthem.
I mean, look, I really like this kind of idea. I actually think I will brew something up in the token space. But like I've spoken to this about before. I think some of the things which I really like with these flurry cards, aside from the obvious things like baubles and cantrips, I really like Snapcaster Mage. Because like it itself is a spell and it gives something flashback. I like playable flashback cards. Like maybe I'd experiment with. I wonder if Lingering Souls belongs. Because like it's a token maker early, but also it can be that second spell when you need it to be. And I wonder if there are like other cards in that space which could like really get this deck humming.
Yeah. And do you think Jeskai is the right shell for this kind of deck?
Look, at the moment, I'm just so addicted to four colors. Just in the same way which like your first tokens deck, it's not like you need to be in every color for a lot of cards, but there's just so much power which is too much to pass up on. Like in the first list, there's not that much red, right? It's like Morlock, Bombardiers, and Goblin Bombardment, and I guess Frontline Rush.
Like
But
fourth.
at fourth, yeah, like, it's like five cards, but these are all like bangers, like Fourth Theolingus, Broadside Bombardiers, like these cards are going to win the game by itself. Like, and so I think, sometimes it's like the core could be Jeskai, but maybe I just want black because I just want the hand disruption, or I want all of my removal to cost one. So why not Fatal Push? It's just like the next best one drop removal spell.
And then you get Lingering Souls. Just
Yeah,
to be
that's right. Then I
greedy.
get the five Lingering Souls. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like as you're saying, like it's really great that you're going to experiment with this deck because one downside of this archetype is that there isn't really anyone else playing it. So you don't have other people experimenting. There's no like, oh yeah, like I tried out this tokens deck, at my local, and here's my results. So like refining this archetype is taking a lot longer without tens of people all putting their brains together.
Although I will say, I have noticed in the data sometimes there is, I'm not sure where they're from, but there is a Mardu tokens player out there.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I was going to mention that. Yeah, it's actually been great to see a Mighty Tokens list come up here and there. And I had someone at our local as well ask. So I personally really like to be playing green. I want to be with my Cradle. But yeah, Mighty Tokens, from what I've seen, definitely has some legs.
Well, they look maybe I'll go in the Mardu with blue direction, and you can go in the Jeskai with green direction, and we'll see. We'll see if we meet in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great idea. And if there's anyone out there that wants to test some tokens, like definitely hit me up in the Discord with your. Yeah, I'm Sprat in the 7-point Discord. Always down for some token love.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for that, Jack. We normally like to end with a couple of quick fire questions. So I'll ask them to you, and you just say the first thing that comes to your head. So the first one is, excluding like an infinite combo of making tokens, what's the largest amount of tokens you can remember making in a game?
Oh my goodness. There was a time that I ran out of tokens in my tokens box. I believe it was squirrels at the time. Like I have a lot of squirrels, and we just ran out because I think when I first made this deck, I had some token doublers. So we had Anointed Procession, we had Mondrak, and I think I was playing another one, and I just had them all. And it said, yeah, here's one of the Hermit's Druids, and I'm going to make like, I don't know, like 20 something squirrels. And my opponent did not concede, so I just lay out all these squirrels in play. And yeah, another time would be when I've made token copies of Ocelot Pride, because all of those go under the stack separately, and the Ocelot Pride copies the copies of Ocelot Pride, and you just end up with like 8 Ocelot Prides that are all triggering, and that's just pandemonium that hurts my brain. But I do love it.
I'll tell you what, there's definitely a meme in there about like standard player starts playing 7-point Highlander, and he's saying to his friends, and then I made 24 squirrel tokens and my opponent didn't concede. What's going on here?
The second one is, what's your current pointing hot take / what would you change in the points list?
Oh, no, you guys have done it. You've pointed misstep. I finally get to add other cards that have been waiting in the wing, and just straight up replace misstep. So I'm actually quite happy. I think Grixis is really powerful. Just all its cards are really, really good. But I think I'm going to leave it to the pros to advocate for that.
Fair enough. And the third one is, what is the worst color sleeves for someone's deck?
Oh, I think I can, and I did play them for a bit, but there's this really off, like yellowy brown. I think one of our other local players uses them, and I think they just look a little bit gross. Be like someone's thrown up on them.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just like the color you're describing is just like sick up or piss.
yeah. It's pretty gross.
You know the one which I like. It's not that I necessarily don't like it, but it's just the wording. Like all of the sleeve companies, they name the colors, and presumably they're trying to name it something appealing. Like electric blue or something like that. One of the colors I read was like petroleum green.
Oh yeah.
which focus group was like, what's a sleeve color which people are going to go for? We know petroleum, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Grim.
All right, well, look, Jack, thanks for coming on and speaking to us about tokens, mate. An archetype which could definitely use a little bit more love in the meta share, but as long as you're going not quite alone with the one other Mardu tokens player, it'll be cool to see if we can get some other events. I do think as well. While we haven't had a lot of top eights, one thing which I always find is like the funny meme in the tournament is Jack is nearly always in the winning in and somehow always managed to doing the winning in versus Juzza. And so,
Yeah.
these decks said, and they don't always go in Juzza's favor. Like I think you guys have a funny back and forth in terms of who wins on each particular day. So this deck is definitely it's competing with good players, it's competing with good decks, and maybe with a bit more tuning could be exactly where it needs to be to take the meta by surprise.
Yeah, exactly. And Withers is putting another 2-mana make 2 dudes in the Spider-Man set with Peter Parker. So I look forward to testing with that.
So guys, if you like the podcast, if you want to come on, you want to share your thoughts about a deck or an archetype which you've got a bit of expertise in, reach out to Liam and I. We're always looking for new guests. And also, please, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Spotify. It's really great to see how much the community is engaging with the pod.